Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of CookieCast. Today on CookieCast, it's our Laces Out podcast, our NFL podcast. We're getting to the back end of the season this time round, and yeah, it's starting to shape up. The playoffs are getting locked in, and this runs us up to, but not including, the Christmas games. There will be a Christmas podcast coming, so this isn't quite our Christmas podcast, but it runs up to it. Before we get started, please do consider like, share, subscribe and comment. Leave a review where you can leave a review. And obviously, share the podcast around. If you've got an NFL fan in your life, send this podcast their way. They might even thank you for it. Right, let's get started. Here we go. This is CookieCast. Laces out. Well, there we go. We're back. And we're talking American football because this is the Laces Out podcast from your CookieCast network. It's one of those things. I walked past the sign today that said it's 7 sleeps. And I was like, yes. So we are descending on that time of the year. It was quite enjoyable to be surrounded by the people who were all commenting on how much they hate Christmas, which I think is the real, true spirit of Christmas, or at least it seems to be. So what I am alluding to is there is no guest. I did not have the brain power to even think about I don't know where the guests live anymore. Where do they live? So it's just me, my fantastic co-host, Mr. Paul Williams. How is your Christmas shopping going?
I don't want to jinx it, but I would say for the first time in possibly all of my 38 years on this earth, I am done with spoiler. A week to go, barring sort of the odd little bit to sort of just finish off here and there. So I'd say 95% done.
So I am in exactly the same camp as of today. I went out at 6:15 this morning, and yes, I was out of the house at 6:15 in the morning, but I did manage to come home with a Christmas gift. And after that, I managed to then go and it was just tick, tick, tick through that list, and managed to do like a mini food shop for a little child-related gathering, little end of term party for the little people. So yeah, felt good, felt positive, knowing full well that I've now got 7 days to go. Shit, completely forgot about that. But it's the most wonderful time of the year. Let's not forget. Anyway, that's enough of that.
And you just know for a fact that you'll be sat there and you'll be like, all done, got everything, absolutely perfect. Or you'll literally go to sit down on the sofa and something will pop in where it's like, back, I forgot to get this, or I forgot to buy for that person, or I looked at that, put it back, thinking I was going to get something else, and it's never ended up happening. So, yeah, looking forward to all that inevitable just sort of raining down on me at some point in the next 6 days. But yes, let's move on.
The person who's done the worst out of the deal is within earshot right now, and they didn't have the toy I went to buy, and they didn't have the cheese bone that I wanted. I was mortified. Like, damn it. They traded all of their Mr. Potato Head toys to Christmas Mr. Potato Head. And I want a Christmas Mr. because I don't want the dog wandering around with a Christmas item all year long, like he does at the moment. Anyway, let's move on quickly. So, let's talk last week. Go.
Let's talk indeed. So, week 15 of the NFL regular season. With it, it was the first of the week in a long time, other than the Thanksgiving week, obviously, which brought with it all 16 games, as we discovered last week. All of the teams have now hit their bye, so for the rest of the weeks, 16 games across the board. So, myself, Mr. Cook, and the stats mistress provided last week's guest picks with an incredibly respectable 12 of 16 selections correct. Only good enough for third place.
Wow.
This is the standard that's been set this season on the podcast. It is the stats mistress. Now, she was let down by the 49ers not beating the Rams, the Lions not beating the Bills, the Chargers not beating the Bucks, and the Raiders not beating the Falcons, although the Raiders did do their best to overcome the Falcons, but just fell at the final hurdle. So, 12 of 16 selections correct. Once again, incredibly respectable that, but only good enough for third place. Which means that myself and Mr. Cook are separated by just 1 point for what feels like the 7th or 8th time this season or something like that. So one of us got 13 of 16, one of us got 14 of 16. If I was to say to you that we both got the Chargers wrong, and then one of us only got one more wrong, but one of us got two more wrong, with 13 of 16 selections, letting me down alongside the Chargers were the Panthers not beating the Cowboys and the Jaguars not beating the Jets. Sadly, Paul Williams, 13 of 16, which leaves Mr. Andrew Cook with 14 of 16. The Chargers not beating the Bucks and the Dolphins not beating the Texans were the two teams that let you down this week. But doesn't matter. You still got enough points to get the 1 point for the week to move you to 6.5 points for the season. I remain 1 point ahead with 7.5. But as we say every week, Andrew has that asterisk next to his name for his full clean sweep in one of the earlier weeks of the season. So if it is a tie, Andy will win. So
it's almost like it's written in the stars.
it's going to go right down to it. I think it'll depend on how week 16 goes. Because that, if I pull two ahead, then obviously the worst I can do is draw, potentially. But we'll see. Let's put it that way. So that's the regular predictions done, which just leaves us with the side bet. Obviously, the side bet, for those of you that are new around here, each week myself and Mr. Cook pick 4 of the games that we see as a true banker each way, either the home team or the road team. Once that team has been chosen, that game is removed from the slate and cannot be selected again. So, Andy's 4 teams this week were the Kansas City Chiefs to beat the Cleveland Browns. That's 1 out of 4. The Minnesota Vikings to beat the Chicago Bears. 2 out of 4. The Arizona Cardinals to beat the New England Patriots. That's 3 out of 4. And the Atlanta Falcons to beat the Las Vegas Raiders. That's a clean sweep, ladies and gentlemen. That is 4 of 4, moving Andrew to 42 points for the season in the side bet. My 4 teams were the Baltimore Ravens to beat the New York Giants, the Washington Commanders to beat the New Orleans Saints, 2 from 2 so far, the Cincinnati Bengals to beat the Tennessee Titans, 3 from 3, and the Denver Broncos to beat the Indianapolis Colts. That's myself, is also 4 from 4. We've done pretty well on most weeks in the side bet this season. We haven't dropped that many points. So we're 15 weeks in, and obviously there's 4 points up for grabs each week. So what's that? 60 points total. You're on 42, I'm on 45. I'd say that's a pretty good percentage.
Pretty good going.
I'm batting at about 75%.
I think I looked at my Pickham's percentage, and I think it said I was 93% at this point.
It's very impressive.
It's like, okay, I can roll with that. It's better than 50, so
Certainly is.
And also, my other favourite is that I have mentioned this before. I have sort of borrowed the concept of the side bet. I heard something like our version somewhere else, and I went, "That's a cool idea, but I think it doesn't quite work the way it could work better." So I tweaked. However, the people who do what would be classed as the OG version, they would love 50% week in, week out. Their picks are wow. When it's like, oh, so you picked the Jets to win, have you? That should be a good week for you. The Patriots, you reckon? Yeah, they're definitely going to win that game. The Panthers, nice. Okay, cool. So I feel that although we sort of borrowed certain elements and made it, I feel better. That's not all we're doing better. So I think we're doing reasonably well. Also, as I keep saying, week in, week out, just to give me that little tiny bit of hope. It could all change. It could all change as we are entering, and I almost hate to say it, the latter part of the season. Teams will start resting players, especially teams who can do no worse than where they sit for playoff positions. So you could end up seeing certain teams take a loss if it doesn't affect them. And those teams might be teams that we would say, oh, they're definitely going to win. Also, something that I am blatantly aware of that's in the stats and rightly the way it is worded in the stats. Obviously, a certain team may have taken a bit of a knock in the last week, and another team who I'm pretty sure I saw was something like 56% of people reckon are going to win the Super Bowl, are struggling to put a team together right now. So it could all change, is all I'm saying.
Indeed.
Speaking of stats, I spoke to the stats specialist and I said, hey, what have you got for me in the way of some stats? And she said, I've got the cream of the stats for week 15, the absolute cream. Now, I will say this. I've had a little look through. Obviously, sent Paul 50% this week of stats. They are juicy. They're big. They're substantial. I don't know if it's the font they've been written in, but they look big. So we best get cracking. These are the NFL Week 15 stats brought to us by the Stats Mistress and brought her by Nate Davis of USA Today. The first stat is the one I was alluding to, and that is the number one story this week will doubtless be Mahomes' status after he suffered an ankle injury after being enveloped by 3 Cleveland defenders while trying to get rid of a pass. Per NFL Network, the 3-time Super Bowl MVP is already considered week to week. which is problematic as the AFC leaders are officially in the midst of a 3-game in 11-day stretch that concludes on Christmas. Number 2 teams were mathematically eliminated from postseason consideration Sunday. The Carolina Panthers shocked, and the Chicago Bears also not exactly shocked on that. Number 3, the Ravens have a player who apparently doesn't feel contractually obligated to perform at all times. Following his refusal to enter Week 14's game against the Philadelphia Eagles, wide receiver Deontay Johnson was subsequently suspended for Sunday's game. Interesting. Number 4, Lamar Jackson threw for 5 touchdown passes on Sunday, the 6th time in his Jackson's career that he's passed for 5 touchdowns in a game, turning the trick twice in 2024 when he's still very much a legit MVP candidate. Speaking of MVP candidates, sure feels like Buffalo Bills quarterback Josh Allen might have locked up the award Sunday after out-dueling Jared Goff's Detroit Lions 48-42 at Ford Field in a game that wasn't as close as the score suggests. Neither team saw a juicy inter-conference matchup change its seeding Sunday, but by adding 4 more touchdowns, 2 passing, 2 rushing, to his season tally while accounting for 430 yards of offense, Allen almost certainly left Goff one of his apparent pursuers. Number 6, New Orleans Saints sacked Washington Commanders quarterback Jaden Daniels 8 times. Though some were the result of the rookie running out of bounds, still the punishment appeared to take its toll, given the Commanders only scored 6 points in the second half and nearly coughed up a 17-0 lead before surviving on the game's final play, when the Saints' 2-point attempt came up short in their 2019 defeat. My final stat for this week is Sunday. Saints running back Alvin Kamara became the 4th player in league history with 50 career rushing touchdowns and 25 receiving touchdowns. Is he a Hall of Famer? The other players on the list are Niners running back Christian McCaffrey, plus Hall of Famers Marshall Faulk and Lenny Moore. That is my stats for week 15, but there's more. And Paul will tell you them now.
There is indeed. So we continue the stats with Detroit and Buffalo combined for 90 points, 58 first downs, 145 plays, and 1,080 yards. Both clubs exceeding 500 in Sunday's game. Disappointing as the Jets have been in 2024, Aaron Rodgers has been playing well lately, albeit when it matters the least. He has 8 touchdown passes against 1 interception over the past 4 games, and has had a passer rating of at least 100 in 3 of them. He even had a team high of 45 rushing yards against the Jets. Still, Sunday's win was the Jets' lone victory in that stretch. The Jets' 32 points were a season high. Awesome to be doing that when you're eliminated from postseason. Play of the day might have been the backflip executed by Jacksonville defensive tackle Jeremiah Ledbetter. However, he was 6'3" and 299 pounds after he sacked Aaron Rodgers. Just how good is Denver's defense? It generated 5 takeaways and a touchdown on a day when the Broncos offense didn't even manage 200 yards against Indianapolis. more than enough to crush the Colts and just about sew up the franchise's first playoff spot since quarterback Peyton Manning and co. won the Super Bowl 9 years ago. How good is the Los Angeles Chargers defense? Shrug. For those of us who thought this team was overrated, or at least unproven, based on its schedule to date, the equally middling Tampa Bay Buccaneers provided quite the wake-up call to Bolt supporters on Sunday. The Chargers began Week 15 as the league's stingiest scoring D, allowing just 15.9 points per week, before the Bucs hung nearly 3 times that figure on them in a 40-17 walkover. Tampa Bay's 506 yards of offense were also easily the most allowed by first-year head coach Jim Harbaugh's team in 2024. 2 more from me. Buccaneers wide receiver Mike Evans had his biggest game of the season with 159 receiving yards and a pair of touchdowns. He needs to average 84 yards over the next 3 weeks to extend his string of 1,000-yard campaigns to 11. And the final stat of the week. This one might be a little bit tongue-in-cheek, but we'll go with it anyway. Cowboys kicker Brandon Aubrey's highly disappointing sophomore season continued on Sunday after he missed his 6th field goal try of the year, coming up short on a 70-yarder. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, 70. I believe that would make it 4 yards bigger than the current record held by Justin Tucker. Yeah, it was not just short, it was way off to the side. I believe the Panthers tried to return it and it didn't really go anywhere. But yes, 70 yards attempt. At some point, you probably will kick one. It would just need the game to take place in a dome. And I imagine he'll absolutely nail it. So watch this space. It's probably coming. That ends Week 16 stats. And Week 15. I do apologise. Week 15 now has that fresh, beautiful bow tied. I mean, that's apt, if anything. Christmas time, bows, ribbons, perfect. It's now placed off to the side. We don't need to worry about Week 15 anymore because Week 16 is on the horizon and comes with it right now. So, Week 16. 16 games. As always, myself and Mr. Cook have provided our predictions. They are in book. This week's guest predictions are provided by my good lady wife, Mrs. Amy Williams. She does the solid, provided 16 picks once again for Week 16. So, Week 16 starts off with the Thursday night football, which sees the Denver Broncos travelling to the aforementioned Los Angeles Chargers. Now, normally with myself and Mr. Cook, we've got quite a lot of similar opinions on these games. This is the first week in a while where we've had opening differences of opinion and then more across the board. So, I've gone with the Broncos. Mrs. Williams has gone with the Broncos. Mr. Cook has gone with the Chargers on this one.
Point Island, yes.
We then move to the first of the Saturday games that we've started seeing this season. Obviously, the college football is now over, which means that the Saturday slate has opened up, and we see 2 games being played on Saturday this week. The first of which is the Houston Texans at the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, as Mr. Cook mentioned in the stats, Patrick Mahomes is considered week to week on this. Now, this will be, as he also said, this will be the Chiefs are scheduled to play 3 games in the space of 11 days. This will be their second game in the space of 6 days, and then they will also suit up 4 days later on Christmas. Personally, I think it would be insane for Patrick Mahomes to play in this game.
Yeah.
Which is reflected in the fact that I have taken the Texans, whereas Mr. Cook and Amy have taken the Chiefs.
So, I looked at this game and I went, Mahomes isn't playing this game. It's very much a situation where it just makes no sense for him to play the amount of time they can get him off the field is more time they can get him on the field later in the season and postseason, etc., etc., etc. So somebody else is going to be in at quarterback, and the question is the Kansas City Chiefs Patrick Mahomes, or is the Kansas City Chiefs the Kansas City Chiefs? So I know he's the golden boy. I know he's the golden child. I know all of that. But the argument has to be there that they are supposed to be a team, not one single player. So I had to look at it and go, I would hope that the Chiefs would still win this game, even if Mahomes isn't there. To kind of, I would personally want it to send a message, and that message is, we are not Patrick Mahomes. But
we'll wait and see. Let's put it that way. The second of the Saturday night games is tasty, as it sees the Pittsburgh Steelers taking on the Baltimore Ravens. And we've also got a difference of opinion on this one. I've gone with the Steelers, no surprise. Andy and Amy have both gone with the Ravens on that one.
So if you look at this by the numbers, I think the Steelers and the Ravens both have the same number of wins.
I think the Steelers are one ahead. I think they're 10-4, and the Ravens are 9-5.
Yes. This is one of those where I looked at this very much in that the Steelers are probably, in a position to win this. I also looked at the other side of the ball where it's, you've got this MVP race going, you've got a Ravens team who are not bad, but it could be argued that they, at this point, have maybe underperformed a little. They're probably not in that top contender space, and a win in this game would push them more in that direction. So I was looking at it like, I can't imagine the Steelers are not going to turn up. I think the answer to this is that the Ravens need to turn up a little bit more to just get that additional win. But then, isn't that every team every week? So that was my thinking.
Yeah, couldn't disagree. So that's our Saturday games. So we move to Sunday. First, this is all the 6 o'clock games. So we have Giants at Falcons. Everyone's taking the Falcons. Cardinals at Panthers. Myself and Andy have taken the Cardinals. Amy has gone with the Panthers. Next up, we've got Lions at Bears. We've all taken the Lions across the board. Obviously, the Lions are a bit patched up at this point. They lost yet more players.
So it was the Lions were the other team I was referring to. The Lions, at this point in time, I think are at, we've got one player for this position. We've got one player for this position. They've had major, key players go out. We've had, season-ending injuries and things. Like I say, 56% of people voted the Lions to not only go to, but win this year's Super Bowl. I'm starting to wonder if they're going to even be able to field a team that far into the season at this point. So watch this space.
Like I said, we have all taken the Lions. Obviously, the Bears can't get into the postseason now.
Go Bears.
So next up, we've got the Titans at the Colts. Myself and Andy have taken the Colts on this one. Amy has taken the Titans. We've got the Rams at the Jets. Clean sweep for the Rams. Same with the Eagles at the Commanders. Clean sweep across the board for the Eagles. Browns at the Bengals. Myself and Andy have taken the Bengals. Amy has taken the Browns. Divisional game. Does weird things to certain people. Next up, it's the start of the 9 o'clock slate game. So we have the Vikings at the Seahawks. Andy and Amy have gone with the Vikings. I've gone with the Seahawks, mainly because the Seahawks are at the point now where they've got a 1-game lead on the Rams, and they obviously need to keep themselves ahead of the Rams to ensure that they'll win the division and get into the postseason.
Yeah.
So I just think that home field advantage probably uses in their favour.
12 man, isn't it?
Get the win, keep themselves in the hunt. You'll not be surprised to hear that we've all taken the Bills at home to the Patriots. Wouldn't be surprised if that point spread is at least 2 touchdowns. We've all got the Jacksonville Jaguars at the Las Vegas Raiders. And then the final game of the 9 o'clock slot sees San Francisco at the Miami Dolphins. Myself and Mrs. Williams have taken the Dolphins. Mr. Cook has taken the 49ers on that one. That will just about keep the 49ers alive in the playoff race.
Yeah, the reason there was a lot around, I don't know how else to say this. It's a lot around the fact that I didn't like what I saw from the Dolphins at the weekend. It didn't fill me with confidence. So I was a bit like, the Niners really need it. The Dolphins also need it. But I think, you've got the fact that Niners are absolutely battered at this point. Again, very much in the Lions camp, cannot field a freak team at the moment. But yeah.
2 games left. The Sunday night football sees the Tampa Bay Buccaneers going to Dallas to take on the Cowboys. Myself and Mr. Cook have taken the Bucs on that one. Amy has dived into Cowboy territory. And the Monday night football sees New Orleans Saints taking on the Green Bay Packers. And we've all taken the Packers. So, there you have it. 16 selections for myself, Mr. Cook, and Mrs. Amy Williams. No same picks across the board, so we should have a definitive winner. Or again, we'll probably have a scenario where myself and Andy share the points, or something similar like that. That's the Week 16 regular selection done. That just leaves myself and Mr. Cook to take our 4 side bet selections. So, we're going to step away momentarily just to recompose ourselves. We'll be right back with our side bet selections for you. Don't go anywhere.
Couldn't find the button then for a second. So we are here to do the. It's not more important. It's equally as important. It's nearly as important. It's still important though because we're getting down to the wire at this point. Outside of playoff football, which you end up in a situation where you're like, who do you think is going to win in this game or this game? Hey, but yes, we are running up to the back end of the regular season, which will limit my opportunity to get back some of those valuable points. What's nice is no buys, so all games to play for. I already know what your question is going to be, and I already know what my answer is going to be. I am going to take the first pick. Let's just see who the Panthers are. Yes, I'll take the Arizona Cardinals to beat the Carolina Panthers, please. And over to you.
Now, I didn't think that's where you were going to go. I'm not going to lie, I'm absolutely thrilled that you have, because it does allow me to take the Buffalo Bills to beat the New England Patriots in Buffalo with my first selection. So I'm very happy about that. With my second selection, I'll go with the Cincinnati Bengals to beat the Cleveland Browns in Cincinnati. Your next 2 selections.
I will take the Cheeseheads. For anyone else who isn't aware, that will be the Green Bay Packers to beat the New Orleans Saints. Yeah. Ooh, I will take the Los Angeles Rams to beat, in the truest sense of the word, the New York Jets, please.
Mm. Mm. In my head, this was a lot easier than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at these games, and there's a lot where I'm sort of thinking, ooh.
I don't want my fate to come down to that game.
Exactly. So I'm looking. Let's just talk through a couple of them. I'm looking at Jaguars Raiders. I'm thinking, yeah, I can see the Jags winning that. And then I'm immediately sort of like brought back to, yeah, but this is the Jacksonville Jaguars we're talking about.
Yeah.
Eagles Commanders, probably a logical one to go for, but again, divisional matchup.
Honestly, I can see the Commanders winning that game.
I think I'm going to go with the next one that I'm going to select, being. I'm going to go with it, but I don't like it. I'm going to go with the Atlanta Falcons to beat the New York Giants. And the only reason I'm saying that is because
I know the reason you're saying it.
So the head coach has come out today and said that they're benching Kirk Cousins and
That's
they're going
right.
with the
I
rookie.
knew it.
So this is going to be one of those scenarios where I'm going with the Falcons and it's going to spectacularly blow up in my face
I
when
saw
Penny Jr. throws like 5 interceptions.
2 days ago, I saw the Falcons announced who was playing at quarterback this week. And at that moment, I went, shit, that's put the Falcons back on the board as one of Paul's picks, which means I can't sneak it out from underneath him, knowing that he'll never pick the Falcons. No. Now then.
Right. So to finish us off, I will go with the Eagles to beat the Commanders. Should have enough. I know it's a divisional matchup, but I still think the Eagles will have too much for the Commanders, which leaves you the rest of the board to pick from.
In a lot of ways, this game is kind of a no-brainer if you look at the numbers. However, if you look at other deciding factors and when you're struggling to put a team together, the last thing you want is to send players out who might end up getting injured when you're going to need, and I do mean need them. Again, this falls into a category of I do hope this team is the team we all dream that it is. So I am going to take the Detroit Lions to beat the Bears. The smartest move at this point in time is to get a load of like backups in to play this game. The Bears have got absolutely nothing to gain from a win. The Lions have not got a massive amount to lose from a loss. So sending a load of people who might look good in this game, and you could maybe put them in a position in later games when they're needed. So I get it, I do. But on the flip side, the Lions are super good this season, and the Bears have been really horrific. So, yeah, very good. It is what it is.
Yeah, the only thing that concerns me with the Lions is obviously they've got the same record as the Vikings now, and it's that win they had over the Vikings earlier in the season. It's given them the tiebreak currently. They do play each other in week 18. So if Detroit wins that, they'll have the unanimous tiebreaker over the Vikings if they end up with the same record. So, yeah, wouldn't be surprised if they try and rest some players against the Bears, but they can't afford to rest all of their players against the Bears, if that makes sense. So, just to clarify, each of our 4 side bet teams, Andy has the Arizona Cardinals at the Carolina Panthers, the Green Bay Packers at home to the New Orleans Saints, the Los Angeles Rams at the New York Giants, and the aforementioned Detroit Lions at the Chicago Bears, whereas my four teams are the Buffalo Bills at home to the New England Patriots, the Cincinnati Bengals at home to the Cleveland Browns, the Atlanta Falcons at home to the New York Giants, and the Philadelphia Eagles at the Washington Commanders. So what's that? 3 home teams and 1 road team for me. Andy has 1, 2 of each. No, 3 road teams and 1 home team. So going with the potentially the sort of the underdogs there.
Yeah,
You'll get the
I
points.
love an underdog. I love an underdog.
Exactly.
This is one of those situations where I feel that it's probably kind of time that we should maybe wish our fantastic listeners, watchers, and all that a Merry Christmas. However, in a weird sort of turn of events, there is Christmas games that are not part of these predictions. And because of that, any future podcasts recorded in the next week may need to go out before those games, which would probably mean Tuesday. So I might keep hold of my Merry Christmas. Just saying. However, if you don't get a chance because you're enjoying the festivity, you can have a Merry Christmas. It's also that point in time where I have to do the, I was going to say back office work, but it's not back office work. We are just one. Myself and Paul are the two-headed monster that is the NFL podcast. We have guests sometimes, but it is not the only podcast. We've got a fantastic football podcast hosted by my NFL podcast co-host. A delightful 7 seasons, just like the NFL. We have a wrestling podcast. If wrestling is your thing, you cannot go far wrong with our wrestling podcast. It is fantastic. It covers all the news, covers the premium live events, pay-per-views, the upcoming premium live events, and basically all the goings on in the WWE and surrounding areas. We have a Formula One podcast, which has come to the end of its season. It's had a fantastic season. I believe we are expecting a end of season / end of year / possible Christmas episode. Look out for that. And if at this point in time you're not tired of listening to my voice, feel free to jump over and check out the Darkest Timeline podcast. It's mostly me just rambling about what I've been doing in the last week, which, yeah, it's rock and roll, that. But there are things like entertainment stuff. I do talk about some TV stuff, movies, computer games, virtual reality, all those sorts of delicious things. Try and keep it current by watching films from the 90s. Early 2000s. Yes, so there's that as well. I like to say, if you don't get a chance to check out our what will be Christmas episode, do have yourself a wonderful festivity, whichever you enjoy. Enjoy the Christmas Day football, which I believe we will cover in our next episode, because for some of us, there are added elements to Christmas Day football this year, which cherry on top, let's say. Big thank you for watching, big thank you for listening, big thank you for being here. From me, big thank you from my co-host, I'm sure a big thank you. Check out, obviously there's a lot of difference of opinions in a lot of games this week. This is, I think it's make or break. This could go one way and put a real knife edge on things, or it could go another way and we'll just crown Paul in both of our championships this season. But, yeah, find out at some point in the future. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you very much for watching and listening. And yes, have a fantastic one. We will catch you next time. Tatty bye.
So there we go. What do you think of that? Another week of games gone. Another week, kind of. It's like a few days away. Set of games to come. Big thank you for watching. Big thank you for listening. Big thank you for being here. Before you go, please do consider like, share, subscribe, and comment. Leave a review where you can leave a review. And check out the website, thecookiecast.com. There we've got social media links and an email button, and that way you can get in touch with us. That's it for this one. Join us again for our Christmas episode of the Latest Out podcast. But until then, I'm going to say bye, and I'll see you then.
Thank you for listening. Thank you for listening to this awesome cookie cast.